Got one more, got one more person just joining us. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'll introduce myself. I see that my name just says Women's Spirituality Program. I'm Anna Corwin. I'm the chair of the Women's Spirituality Program and faculty in the Women's Spirituality Program. And this wonderful event is co-sponsored between the Women's Spirituality Program and also the ESR. Oh my goodness, the program on ecology, spirituality, and religion. That's also at CIIS here. And we are so happy to have Dr. Daniella Orias with us today. She's completed her PhD in comparative studies, and her work focuses on ecofeminism and design. And she has created an ecofeminist tarot deck that was part of her research. She works and you'll get to learn a little bit from her today. And right now, she also is currently working at CIIS and through the Department of Human Sexuality as the digital pedagogy coordinator for the Lavender Languages Institute. She also does work in instructional design and many other things. So I just want to say how grateful we are to have Daniella here to lead us through this workshop. We're going to learn a little. I think we're going to participate a little bit. And I love having a collaboration between women's spirituality and ESR at CIS. It's a nice little opportunity for us to all be together. We have a few other events this month for March, Women's History Month, which is kind of, as I think, appropriate, not contained to just the month of March, but is going to flow out into April. So we have a few more events coming up. I'll put that link in the chat. But without anything else, I will now turn it over to Dr. Arias. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was such a great intro, and I'll get a little bit more about myself and talk to you guys about that as well while I'm giving my presentation. But I'm really excited to be here. And again, thank you for coming to this event. And I look forward to talking to you about my work in tarot. Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen without further ado. Just give me one moment. Let me know if you guys can see the PowerPoint slide okay. Everyone can see it all right?
Looks good.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So yes, welcome everyone to my Rooted Wisdom Ecofeminist workshop. As you can see on this title page, I've featured 2 cards from my Ecofeminist tarot deck that I created. And through this PowerPoint, you will see many of the cards featured on the slides. You will also have access to a digital version of the cards. So fear not, you will be able to see these cards as many times as you would like to. And this workshop is going to begin by us taking a moment to introduce ourselves. Then I'm going to introduce you to my Rooted Wisdom Ecofeminist tarot deck, which was my PhD dissertation and is now my continued work. And in this, we're going to discuss how tarot can be used as a pedagogical tool. And participants will also have a chance to create their very own tarot card. So let's start by introducing ourselves. I'm going to take a moment to introduce myself, and then we can put in the chat kind of a bit about ourselves as well, so I can get a chance to know you. So my name is Daniella Orias, as stated. I have my PhD in comparative studies, and I teach courses on sex, myth, power, and pop culture, and also gender and climate change. As noted, I work with the Lavender Language Institute at CIIS. I love working on that program and delving into queer linguistics for that summer institute. I also spent several years working for the Conservation Corps in Vermont and North Carolina, building hiking trails, and ran my own farm in Ocala, Florida for several years. So I wanted to bring this up because I think it's a big part of my work to bring theory and practice together with ecofeminism. And my work really seeks to merge my academic pursuits with my on-the-ground experience. So why don't folks just take a moment to write in the chat a bit about yourself, who you are, what program you're currently in, and what drew you to this workshop. And I'll give participants a moment to just put that in there, and then we'll keep going. So thanks, everybody. And I see the chat. I'm just going to pull it up real quick to see if anyone writes in it. So yeah, just brief, who you are, what drew you to this. Okay, thank you. Anna Corwin, yes, I see that. Perfect. And while folks are doing their little write-ups, I'm gonna just all briefly go into kind of what the purpose of my work is, and you guys can just start continuing to write about yourselves as well. My dissertation and my ongoing research aims to make ecofeminism accessible and impactful for users of the tarot deck. I propose that integrating tarot as a pedagogical tool, specifically through the lens of ecofeminism, can create meaningful and transformative learning experiences. So, really, by connecting theories with symbols, images, and reflective exercises. At its essence, the main question I explored was, is tarot a meaningful tool to use when teaching ecofeminist theories? And more specifically, like challenging discredited knowledge, which we will kind of go into a little bit here, but these ideas of bringing discredited knowledge into academic spaces. Thank you. I see some words in the chat, which I will continue reading as we keep going on. So thank you so much for putting that in there. And to start off, we'll just start with an introduction to my tarot deck. These are some of the cards featured. You can see I also have, along with digital, I do have physical cards. So many of you may have background knowledge of ecofeminism, but I wanted to just take a moment to include it in my presentation. As Greta Gard notes, ecofeminism's basic premise is that the ideology which authorizes oppression, such as those based on race, class, gender, sexuality, physical abilities, and species, is the same ideology which sanctions the oppression of nature. Ecofeminism calls for an end to all oppressions. I wanted to just ground us into this definition since ecofeminism was the main kind of area that I explored in my work. And as you can see with this tarot card here, this is the first card participants are introduced to called the Ecofeminist. Um, and if you're interested in reading more about the cards, I also provide the guidebook in the final slide. You guys will get a chance to get a QR code to that as well. So, rooted wisdom. This quote from Bell Hooks really articulated a key point in the naming of my tarot deck and research. As Hooks states, making peace with the earth, we make the world a place where we can become one with nature. We create and sustain environments where we can come back to ourselves, where we can return home, stand on solid ground, and be a true witness. So, by connecting with nature through the tarot, I really wanted to create a space for individuals to come back to ourselves and to stand on their own solid ground. This solid ground Hooks refers to is not one that is found within the heavens, nor in a strictly masculine God, but one that comes from connecting with the earth as a source of knowledge, insight, and wisdom. A wisdom that is rooted beneath us and available at any given moment that we tune in. So, this knowledge, this idea of rooted wisdom, is really opposing the Western rationality that humans are separated from nature and instead proposes a wisdom that is intricately bound together and connected in the web of life. And this card that you can see here is the Earth card, which I designed. One of my favorites. I really, really love that card so much. Love it. And it was actually taken on a walk I was on. I looked up. A lot of my art that you'll see here is from my own photography and saw how the trees and the sky just kind of created this mirror of what the earth looks like. And when you put it in that round form and you see it, it really does mirror our earth in those moments, from the microcosm to the macrocosm. So, what is rooted wisdom? The title of my deck comes from the idea that wisdom is rooted in the earth. again, as bell hooks kind of shows us, it's rooted in the ground. It challenges the idea of academia being relegated only to the world of the rational and brings in discredited knowledge, which is what I kind of mentioned in the beginning. So, discredited knowledge is what Toni Morrison defines as knowledge systems that were intentionally viewed as less than due to racism, sexism, and classism. These discredited knowledge systems include witchcraft, indigenous knowledge, and voodoo. And Morrison, along with my work, seeks to blend the quote, supernatural and a profound rootedness in the real world at the same time, with neither taking precedence over the other. And that's a quote from Morrison. And this idea that, these forms of wisdom are not often put into traditional academic spaces, and really questioning and challenging that. Why is the mind so separated from the body in these spaces? And what does it mean to bring in intuition, to bring in the mystical into these spaces? Can that provide a fruitful learning experience? And that was one of my big questions. So I brought in and built off of critical pedagogy. And I just wanted to take a moment to explain that. At its simplest definition, pedagogy means teaching methods. So my work used the foundation of critical pedagogy, which emerged from Paulo Freire's book, Pedagogy of the Oppressed. In this book, he highlights the importance of bringing critical thinking into learning environments. And he states that in critical pedagogy, teachers form a partnership with their students and create mutual relations with them, where ideas and concepts are exchanged reciprocally. I also draw from other pedagogical practices that are housed underneath critical pedagogy, such as feminist and transformative pedagogy in my work. So instead of just the teacher kind of dispersing knowledge onto the student, and having a one-way kind of relationship with knowledge. This idea of critical pedagogy is really saying, no, this is a symbiotic relationship. It's an exchange. The student has knowledge and you can create these fruitful experiences by opening up that space instead of just thinking about the student as someone that will just receive the knowledge. So also my tarot deck draws from the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, which originated in 1910. And you can see one of the cards here, the Ace of Pentacles, but diverges in how I use ecofeminism art. I use non-gender conforming imagery to portray the card's meanings. And also, while the traditional tarot features 78 cards, I designed 26. I created 22 major arcana and 4 additional cards, which represent each suit. I will be designing a full tarot deck to come. That is in the works. So that's on the agenda. And in this slide, you can see the rooted one card and the traditional Ace of Pentacles, which I drew inspiration from. You can see that featured on the slide. I also use elements from the world around me, such as in this card, I used a photo I took from a plant that grows right outside my apartment. The cards were created using photography and digital collage. And through my work, I also draw really heavily on popular culture. I bring in songs from artists such as Taylor Swift. I reference films that have deeply influenced our collective imagination, such as Moana. And I really got this inspiration to pull from popular culture from my mentor, Dr. Caputi, who recounts on the importance of examining popular culture in her work. He states that popular culture can, quote, continue to transmit ways of knowing and being, including green ways of knowing and being that have been officially discredited, trivialized, and forgotten. End quote for that. Again, bringing in those officially discredited ways. And pop culture is one of them. There are these deep knowledge systems and things that pop culture does reveal to us. It's really interesting to me. So I wanted to really bring that into my work as well. Another interesting thing about my tarot deck is that I mapped it to the hero's journey, and you'll see that in my guidebook. And I placed the cards in sections based on these phases. So it doesn't follow the traditional numbering of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but I mapped it onto the hero's journey. I felt that mapping the cards onto this journey allowed me to create a unique structure for storytelling in my guidebook and connected each card together as opposed to viewing the cards separately. So that was a choice of mine, and I get into in my dissertation challenging like the hero's journey as this typical white male protagonist, but saying no, it's the person who's getting the tarot reading. It's queer. It can be, women, anyone is the hero in this story. It's not meant for the world of white men. The hero can be anyone. So I also relied, like I said, on my photography and digital collage. So I moved through my everyday environment. I captured images on my iPhone, and then I brought these photos into Canva to transform them into layered intentional designs. At times, the concepts came to me intuitively, almost effortlessly, and other times it required sustained attention, with hours spent refining and reworking each card until it felt right. I also engaged with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and I drew on its symbolism and visual language to incorporate and reinterpret key elements within my own cards. And while writing my guidebook, which later became the chapter 2 of my work, I revisited and edited the cards I had already designed. So it kind of became this back and forth experience of designing the cards, writing about them, and then going back to the cards and continuing to work through that. In this slide, you can see the guide card from my tarot deck and the hermit card, which inspired the piece. The snail shell was based on a picture from a walk I took, and I featured succulents in the bottom right corner from my own garden. So it was really important for me to bring my own environment into the work that I was doing. And I wanted to take a moment to kind of show you both designs side by side. So you can see the original card that I designed, design one, featured on the left, and the final version on the right. And in the beginning, the guide was isolated, similar to the hermit on the previous slide. However, when I started writing my guidebook, I realized I wanted the guide to represent the awakening of the ecological self, which I found in an ecofeminist book I was reading. And it actually ended up standing in contrast to the hermit, which highlighted the importance of turning inward. The ecological self was founded upon realizing our interconnectedness and interdependence with all beings on the earth. So once I started designing the card alongside the theories, I realized I wanted to add more ecological elements to make the snail be a part of the entire environment as opposed to separated from it. So you can kind of see the process that I went through when I was designing. I had this idea of what I wanted the cards to be, and I really looked at the archetypes and looked at Rider-Waite-Smith, and then kind of kept refining from there. So here is an image from my tarot deck, which shows the collapse card, and it mirrors the tower, Rider-Waite-Smith. And this is in the ordeal phase of the hero's journey, where the hero must face an ordeal in order to move forward. So in this card, I included Iyengas from my local environment, and I brought in ecofeminist theories that reflect on what the collapse means. So, in connection with ecofeminism, the collapse represents a sudden change, stems from the recognition that harmful systems such as patriarchy and capitalism are failing, and new systems must emerge. And Charlene Spritnak, an ecofeminist author, states, quote, "The life support systems of this planet are being violated and degraded, causing often irreparable damage. Yet only a small portion of humans have focused on this crisis," end quote. And this crisis that Spritnak is referring to is the collapse. I also provided questions for individuals to reflect upon, and one example is seen in this slide. So I'll give you guys a moment to read it. These questions allow readers to pause, reflect, and apply ecofeminist teachings to their daily lives in order to create a reciprocal relationship with the cards and the theories. So that was a big part of my work, was kind of creating these reflections as well for individuals that were getting the tarot readings that I was doing, and just so they could have the time to really incorporate and embody these ideas that I was talking about, these theories that I was talking about, and apply them to their own lives. again, asking them, what solutions would you propose? As opposed to just giving solutions, creates a more reciprocal kind of experience. Here's another card. This is the collective card, and it is in contrast to the Hierophant. And the collective on my end, it's, I brought bees in, and it shows individuals working together. So they're learning, passing down wisdom to other members of the hive. There are many bees in the community sharing wisdom and creating collaborative efforts to support the hive, as opposed to one of the traditional Western models of teaching, which you can see more in the Hierophant, standing alone. You have structure, rigidity, which utilizes the banking model. The bees form a learning collective. And I brought in for this card in my guidebook a chapter called Ecofeminist Education from Zoe Weil, who talks about ecofeminist pedagogy. And she says that this pedagogy offers a perspective which challenges the domination and hierarchical systems of oppression and provides a methodology which attempts to untangle and disarm patriarchal indoctrination. So you can take a moment to reflect on the questions on the slide, to think through the kind of collective card that I was proposing here. And I really enjoyed working with this card and using the bees as symbolism. And in my work, I kind of go into each animal that I selected, why I brought them into it, the colors I'm using. I go into that more as well in my guidebook. And I also just wanted to show you guys the cards as well. Like I said, I try and bring them into each slide, but we can pause and take a moment to look at some of the cards. As you can see, I do draw inspiration from animals, the world around me. I have my pop culture references. I brought Medusa in for the Gorgon, which ties to the Strength card. And yeah, it was quite a wonderful experience designing these cards and writing about them. If you're doing a dissertation, do a dissertation you love because you are going to spend a lot of time working on it. So definitely find something that can stoke your creative fire. Yes, I see a hand.
If we can go back a slide, I have a
Of
couple
course.
questions related to the images. Now, you
Mhm.
chose the Gorgon for strength, but
Yes.
my understanding was, well, and maybe I don't understand the card, but maybe I've always seen the card as strength through love. And
Mm.
so this is emphasizing strength through power or destruction. So I
Yes.
wonder why you use that. And then the mother, I'm
Mm.
interested in why you use fish imagery, and
Yeah,
that's it. Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you. And I'm going to make some time at the end as well to ask questions. So we'll
Okay.
definitely have that. I will say for the strength card, I draw from this idea of like feminist rage as a way to kind of bring that power. And I draw from this article by Emily Culpepper, who talks about channeling her inner Medusa and her inner Gorgon to kind of fend off this attacker. And she talks about how she brought that in and kind of harnessed it. Um, as far as the fish, I do have a much better write up in my guidebook that I could give you. But when I was researching it, I did see how fish were kind of connected with the feminine pre-Christianity. When I was kind of getting into it, I was learning about that in my big book of symbolism, animals, mythology. And I wanted to kind of challenge this idea as the mother, always, nurturing, giving, but also the mother as this force of intuition and insight. And that's what I write about in my work. But it was really interesting to see it was Barbara Walker's Encyclopedia of Symbolism who talks about the fish and how, the fish was once the symbol of the feminine, but of course got reclaimed and, in Christianity. So I did bring that in there. So thank you for that question. Absolutely. Um, so I wanted to take some time to also look at, how can we use Tarot as a pedagogical tool? what was my experience learning about this in my work? So for my dissertation, I conducted 9 one-on-one virtual interviews, which were tarot readings, where I did a past, present, and future reading in order to assess how participants' understanding of ecofeminism shifted during the interview process. All my participants remained anonymous. They identified as female, ranged in age from 28 to 70. And I'm going to show you a few quotes directly from the participants. They had pseudonyms, so all of the names used in the next few slides are their pseudonym names. And my criteria was that I wanted my participants to have some knowledge in feminist studies, but not a background in ecofeminism, because I wanted to see the cards kind of impacted their initial understanding of ecofeminism. I did open my participants up to male, non-binary, etc., but only female participants reached out to me to do the. That is why my scope was limited there. And the 4 main categories I was looking at were: how did participants define ecofeminism doing the tarot readings together? Their symbolic learning and did digital accessibility impact them because I did the readings online? It was all done through Zoom. What was the effects of that? And what are some of the implications moving forward with this work? How could they see using tarot in different spaces, in different fields? So we talked about that as well. And you can see some direct quotes from my participants here. So take a moment so you can soak those in. The first definition, Lola is articulating that ecofeminism is a collection of theories that scholars have been developing. She talked to me in her write-up. She emphasized a relationship built on care, as opposed to viewing the earth as a resource for man's benefit. The patriarchy card in this slide illustrates what happens when we view the earth as a resource, and several ecofeminist authors have written about forming relationships built on care, which aligned with her definition. The next definition, coming from Lily Carter, drew a parallel between how women and other minority groups and the earth are treated. And she emphasized the importance of tending to our environment. So this concept of care, also I found discussed by several foundational ecofeminist theorists, such as Vandana Shiva in her book Earth Democracy. So overall, many of the responses in the Defining Ecofeminism section demonstrated that participants were able to generate meaningful definitions of ecofeminism, which I showed aligned to several ecofeminist theorists. When I jumped forward into the symbolic learning and reflection, I have a quote from a participant here, known by the pseudonym Fiore, and she talks about the Weaver card and what that card meant to her. The Weaver, which uses the imagery of a spider weaving a web, showcases the importance of interconnection. And her commentary on how this card specifically spoke to her as an environmental educator demonstrates how she was able to apply the imagery and symbolism of the card to further her understanding of ecofeminist theory. Her emphasis on facing today's ecological crisis and coming up with solutions in community highlights a key element of the cards, which was providing ideas and resources for individuals to reflect on how they can incorporate ecofeminist practices into their own lives. And the Weaver card parallels the Magician card, in case some are wondering, which brings together all the elements, which is why I featured several different colors, several flowers, several leaves from my own found environment to kind of represent the different elements that the Weaver is bringing together. I'm also really interested in digital accessibility. It's a really important component of my dissertation. I do think for feminist work to be truly feminist, we do need accessibility and digital accessibility to be a part of it. And participants expressed that these features of the deck were really important. Stella emphasized that she was able to have the reading in the comfort of her home and elaborated that this was beneficial instead of driving around after a long day of work. Not only does limiting driving help out the environment, but in her case, it gave her a chance to access material amongst her busy schedule. The next response by Lola highlighted one of the key benefits of asynchronous online education, which is the ability to rewind and go back. She notes that this ability to replay information was a beneficial accommodation. So for my participants, I gave them a pre-video, which just gave them some understanding of what we were going to do in the reading, gave them information about the ecofeminist card, which is the first card in my tarot deck, and it gave Lola here the ability to, again, pause, rewind, go back, use captions. All of these features are really important for that digital accessibility. So then in the implication section, participants provided some really valuable ideas for the use of this deck and how they could see using tarot as a pedagogical tool in other settings. Iona wrote about the potential of using tarot as a pedagogical tool in science-based curriculum. This bridging of both art and science could be another potential area where combining tarot and pedagogy could be beneficial, as Iona highlights, and this application could help individuals bring together intuition, often thought of as emotional, and science, often thought of as rational. So this ability to bridge those two worlds together could be really interesting. Absolutely. And in Lola's response, we can see the potential benefit of weaving together spirituality, accessibility, and reflection, and applying it to the field of mental health. So when I asked participants about where they could see using these decks, it wasn't, strictly relegated to feminist, ecofeminist studies, but based on the work they did, they could see bringing it into their own fields and their own professions. So, an exciting element about this work is that the possibilities are truly endless, as demonstrated by individuals' reflections about how merging tarot, pedagogy, digital accessibility can be applied in a wide variety of backgrounds. Therefore, I'm eager to see how individuals continue interacting with this deck and also how this project could be replicated in other disciplines moving forward. And I wanted to close this part of the presentation by showing the final card of my tarot deck, which was the Visionary. And the Visionary really urges individuals to tap into their creative forces in order to imagine and create an ecofeminist future. And it felt really fitting to end the tarot spread with this card because artists are the visionaries who imagine new possibilities, similar to how I have done with this deck. And as Fabiana Rodriguez states in the wonderful chapter, Harnessing Cultural Power, in the book All We Can Save, he says, we need our storytellers, a mighty force to help us shift our mythology and imagine a future where together we thrive with nature. So moving forward, I hope this story I have crafted with this deck and dissertation inspires others to challenge discredited knowledge systems and bring them into academic spaces. I wanted to just take a moment to pause before we shift into the next portion of this workshop, which will be creating your own card, to ask participants if they had any questions. So I just wanted to take a moment to pause. Yes, I see a hand up for Erin, and let me stop share so I can see everyone's faces in full. Yes, Erin.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Arias. This was so lovely.
Oh,
I
thank
have
you.
two questions. The first one, you
Okay.
mentioned handling one's inner Medusa. Can you tell me the Emily's last name?
Yeah, it's Emily Culpepper, Culpepper. It's called, yeah, Gorgon Inner. Oh, now I'm like looking up the exact name of it, but it is Emily
Emily
Culpepper.
Culpepper. Okay.
Um, I provide my contact information in the slides at the end. So if you send me an email, I can send you the article. It's an old article, like a scanned article that I have, but I
Ah,
would be happy
okay.
to send it to you.
Okay, lovely. And when I did a
Mhm.
quick Google search, I did not realize there's a lot of information and writings about,
Mhm.
channeling and acknowledging one's
Oh,
inner
yeah.
voices. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. And then second of all, do you, in your tarot deck that you designed, do you
Mhm.
offer, and I appreciate the guidebook, I will read through that this week. Do you
Yeah, of course.
offer suggested spreads, or do you leave that to the discretion of the reader?
Yeah, that's a great question. I believe in the guidebook, talk about the past, present, future spread, which is what I did with my participants. But once I design the full deck, which will be open to the public in a more, public facing setting, I will absolutely have like several spread ideas for people, just, eco-feminist poll kind of to look at, our present ecological state, looking at, I do think the past, present, future is a really interesting way to think about these cards. But
Agreed.
yes, absolutely. I will have those spreads, but I do touch on it very briefly from what I
Okay.
remember in the guidebook, but it will be in the like more commercial, accessible version of the cards that I put out.
Wonderful. And one last question. Thank you for
Yeah.
making it digitally accessible.
Yeah.
Do we have your permission if we wanted to download our own
Yeah.
deck and laminate it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's what I did for my
Thank you.
deck here. So when I did my readings, I did have a laminated physical deck just so I could shuffle the cards, and the participants told me when they wanted me to stop. So it kind of made a more interactive experience with them versus I was playing around with, getting a generator and generating numbers or things like that. But to actually shuffle in front of them and have them tell me, stop, keep going, that really created this kind of like reciprocal relationship where they got to kind of pick their card, really. So,
Yeah.
yeah, these are all laminated and
Oh,
printed
beautiful.
out.
Love
Yeah,
that. I do the same with my
absolutely.
oracle readings. I have clients or students like literally
Yeah,
watch my hands so they can
right.
direct the energy and they determine the number
Exactly.
of shuffles. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you. And yeah, please feel free to reach out, Erin. If you use the deck, if you have any thoughts on it, I would love to continue the conversation. And I will,
Absolutely.
if you email me, I will send you that scanned article I have from Emily Culpepper, which was in a
Okay,
paper
sweet.
many years ago. But it's a great article about channeling your inner Gorgon. And she uses it to fend off an attacker. Um, it's really, really quite a powerful story. So,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yes. Any other questions? I see. Are women a minority? Do you want to expand upon that a little more in the chat? I see that question.
Sure. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I had my
Okay.
I didn't have mute on all this time. I
It's
apologize.
okay.
You said women and other minorities, and I'm thinking, well, women aren't truly a minority, are they? Aren't they half the population? So
Right.
I think I know that you meant that in as much as we're mistreated by the patriarchy and et cetera, but that question just came to my mind, and I'm sure it's because I identify as a ethnic minority. But also I wanted to say I didn't compliment the cards. I think the cards are lovely, and I love how you
Thank
used your
you.
photography within the cards, because I'm not much
Mm,
of an artist, but I can see the beauty in things. So photography
yeah.
would be a great way to use art. But I wondered, are you going to make this an app that's available? And I say that
Mm,
because I always have tarot on my phones, and I often
mhm.
do a spread for myself
Yeah.
daily. So Yeah, that's just something I wanted to ask you about. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And yes, I was looking at doing an app and it's still kind of on the horizon. I have a friend who is a kind of app designer. So we were looking at working on that together. I think I really need to hone in on those minor arcanas and get them finished and get the write-ups done and probably get a printed version. And with the print and digital version, I'll have, and then maybe look at bringing that into an app and what that would look like. But it's definitely in there. It's on the to-do list. Absolutely. It would be really interesting. Um, thank you. Any other last minute questions? I want to save some time so we can jump into designing. So maybe what we'll do is we'll design our own tarot deck. We'll take a moment with that. And then with any time or thoughts that come up through it, we'll check in. So I wanted to see have the option to design your own digital card using a PowerPoint, Google PowerPoint slide. So it's pretty, straightforward how to do it, and I'm happy to talk people through that. I also wanted to provide the option for participants to design their own card using physical objects such as paper, pen. So I just wanted to take kind of a poll. So maybe participants could just like put a hand up or raise their hand digitally if they want to do a digital card and no hard feelings either way. Okay. So I got Aaron for digital. Okay, Aaron. Great. Any other takers in the digital world? Okay, 3. Fantastic. Okay, great. Thank you guys. Oh, Ivory, are you thumbs upping too? Okay. So we have Jody. Okay. So Jody, if you would like to make a physical card, you are more than welcome to do that. Some quotes that I will put up on the screen in a minute. And if you would like to gather your paper, pencil, and kind of utensils, coloring objects, whatever you have, and then I will put up some of those on there. The quotes, getting those who would like to do their digital card ready. So if you guys could, you see this QR code here, you can scan it with your phones. And if not, I will also put it in the chat. It's admin restrictions. Can everyone see the link in the chat? Don't let me do it. Okay. Oh, I'm going to give you guys a moment to open it up. You might want to do it on your computers. That might be easier. So if that works best, you can click the link I provide. Or if you want to do it on your phones, you are more than welcome to do that. So let me know if you are able to access the point. The thumbs up. Okay, great. I am going to take participants over to that PowerPoint real quick just so I can explain it. So give me 1 second here. And I will open up that PowerPoint. We can take a look at it. So hopefully folks can see this screen here. I see a lot of people are on the slide. Fantastic. So I have quotes on the next 2 pages. And what you can do is find the quote that inspires you, or you can select your own ecofeminist quote and pick your kind of page that you're on and just put your name at the top so folks know not to jump into your page and start doing things on it. So you're just going to take your quote, throw it in there so you know what quote you're doing. And then on the slides, so slides 10 through 19, I have images, some of the images that I use for my own cards, and some are just new images I wanted to provide for you all. And what you're going to do is you're just going to click the image and you're going to copy it. So you can either just do a Control or Command C, or you can left or right click and hit copy. Make sure you copy the picture, and then you're going to go into your slide that you put your name on and you're going to paste it and you can start working. I provided the black background because my cards utilize that background. If you want a different color, you can change this box. And yeah, I'm going to give folks 10 minutes to work on that. Does anybody have any questions on this? Let me know. Any questions? Erin, you feel good about it? Dr. Villanueva, is that right? Villanueva? Villanueva. Yeah? Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to give folks 10 minutes and really, yeah, find that really inspires you in that. And again, if you want to, you can select your own quote and just make sure you put your name on the top so folks know not to click around and go onto your slide. I'm also going to share just a slide on the quote of folks that are not designing a piece. Well, I'm going to give, and if you want, you can put your own music on and then I will jump back in. But when looking at the images, really think about what image is going to convey this meaning that I want. What image should I select to convey that meaning? And I'm going to work on designing it as well. I'll join you all in that. We've got 5 more minutes left of designing. So if folks have any questions, you can feel free to unmute. I am also in the design slide as well, so I'm happy to help. And can't wait to see what everyone comes up with. And yes, feel free to bring your own images as well. You can look on the internet, get creative. You don't have to strictly use my images in your designs. Okay, so we had about 10 minutes. So I want to just bring us back so that we can check in on that experience. So yeah, what was that like for some folks? You are free to unmute or, just reflecting. I see on the slides, Jody, I see some quotes here. I see some wonderful floral images on slide 7. So yeah, if you want to take a moment, you can just unmute and kind of check in. What was that experience like for you? And could you see designing your own decks or kind of bringing digital collaging into your world and what that could look like for you? Yeah, I see some laughter there. Tell me, how was your experience, Dr. Villanueva?
I'm currently doing a PowerPoint for another presentation, and I'm
Okay.
realizing, oh my God, I've completely forgotten how to use it. So it's great. Um, I need to work more with accessing images from the internet. That was really a challenge, and so I was stuck. I was real
Okay.
stuck. Yeah.
It's good. It shows us, the spaces we get to
Yeah.
keep growing in.
Where we need our growth. Yes. I,
Exactly. I used Canva a lot, so the Google Slides was the best for kind of group this kind of idea for this presentation. But my cards were all designed in Canva, and I would bring images in, and they have this tool that you can use that can kind of remove the background, or you can click on, that's how I got just the piece of the flower because I would click and it would know kind of to remove the rest of it. And then when you download it, you can download it with the transparent background, which is what I did for all these images. So that's why they can layer on top of each other. Just a little fun tip there. So that's how you get the layering. It has to be transparent, or else you'll just have odd little blocks all interacting. Um, yeah, okay, let's see. You like to use Pexels to grab images for PowerPoint presentations. Great. Non-copywritten images. Wonderful. Thank you for that. Did anyone else have any experience? Anything interesting that came up for them? I see. Oh, Ivory, love this. I really love the images you were bringing in there. Um, yeah, any last minute thoughts? Yes, Aaron.
Thank you so much. This was the first time for me doing digital collaging, and I
Okay.
love how you awarded each of us this beautiful sense or space of
Mm,
agency so we could articulate both in
hmm
images and words that resonated with us, like what a specific theme meant to
mm,
us. And I
yeah.
also noticed kind of the creative and intuitive and perhaps even like critical analysis skills coming
hmm
up when selecting the Tarot number. And so I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. So I'm just like, I'm just going to lean into what this particular number means for me. So for
Mm,
mine, the theme I chose was hope, and the number I
mm,
chose was 8, which is also like, it's also the infinity symbol. So like,
yeah.
change is constant, yet there really is no one specific beginning or one specific
Mm,
ending. And just so yeah, this was very, very lovely. And I appreciate the opportunity that you gave us by considering what will that look and feel like when
mm,
I consider designing my own Oracle deck. Because
yeah.
I just kind of just, I don't know, by default assumed, well, I'll always like access or resource decks from other people. And on
Mm,
some level, like removed myself from that collective of being able to design my own deck. So thank you
yeah.
for this presentation. Very, very
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thanks, Erin. And yes, please, I'm gonna share my last slide with everyone because I don't want to forget. I did tell folks that they had access to my cards, so let me get those last 2 slides on there. Give me 1 second. And thank you. Yes, thank you, everyone. It's been such a pleasure to be here. So if you want to scan this code, you can, oops, sorry guys, explore the cards further. You'll have your digital versions in there. So I want to make sure everyone has their opportunity to get that. I put it in the chat as well if that's easier. along with my contact information. So please feel free to reach out if you design your own cards or want to collaborate or talk more in the future. Please, I'm very open to connecting and talking about my work and my experience designing the cards. And last but not least, if you are interested in providing any feedback, of course, the work we do, it always can be better or, different or whatever we decide. So if you had something you really liked about the presentation, great. Anything that I could improve, feel free to let me know. So I put that in there as well. And thank you all for being here. And I look forward to seeing your very own oracle or tarot decks, or how you can bring in this practice into your own work. And collage is a very feminist method. So if you look into it more, you'll see that in there. Erin, did you have a last minute
Yes,
question?
one last minute question. Can
Of course.
you email us, or is that
Mhm.
possible to email us the cards that we created?
Oh, yeah, I can actually, you'll have a link to that
Oh,
slide.
wait,
So
hi. I
let
just
me,
answered my own
you have
question.
it?
I've got access to that. My bad. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you have access to that slide. So that's all you. So if you want, you could
Okay, thank
copy,
you.
you could duplicate just so you have your own version so it doesn't get tampered with in the future, so that you have your own piece of it. You should be able to just duplicate or copy that page that you created or download it. That work for you, Erin? Hopefully. Yay. And thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Big
So just, I just want to pipe in with one more thank you for Dr. Arias. Thank you so much for taking us through. This is lovely. Thank you for everyone for your
thank
participation. It's always wonderful to see you. I'm going to put in the chat our next event in this Women's History Month, Global Struggles, Shared Liberation, which will be Friday, April 10th, with Linda Kikivish. And thank you so much, Dr. Arias. That was really wonderful. I appreciate you
thank
so much.
you.
And thank you all of you for being here.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Feel free to reach out.